Hey guys, welcome to the lab. We're back with another episode of Sundaze with the Clink Room. Today, joined by Todd Mazzie. Todd, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Really happy to get you on the show. We're gonna learn a little bit about you. I've kind of seen your name kind of float around more and more with the Clink Room. You've done a couple cool collaborations. You have one, I think, in the pre-order status right now. So. That's exciting. We get to kind of learn a little bit more about you and kind of learn about your process and kind of how you found the Clink Room.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. My process started very organically. I had a buddy of mine from back home who was a big sneakerhead who showed me the Clink Room. And, I went to school for art. So for me, I immediately was like, this is kind of cool. Artists can kind of submit, have a say in what logos are being designed.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm horrible with digital art and working with computers. So just getting this up today to actually be able to talk to you is a difficulty for me. But, I saw, different visions that weren't being done or different ideas and concepts, or maybe even, saw somebody that submitted a hat that I thought, hey, this could be elevated and I would buy this if it was, maybe have this tweak. And, I saw a couple of my comments actually get put into hats that got made. And I thought maybe that's a coincidence. I'm not sure. And then artists were reaching out to me like, hey, we like your feedback. Can you help me, with what I'm doing? And I said, sure. And then I said, well, maybe I could do a hat. And so I had a couple ideas that I had brewed up. And then I reached out to artists who had similar either ideas or similar concepts or, art that was synonymous with what I was going for.
Right.
And would pitch it to them and talk and show drawings and go back and forth and discuss. And through a few tries, it ended up sticking a couple times and just been sticking at it. It's been a lot of fun.
Right. So you kind of fall more into like kind of the concepts side of it as you put it. How much work is it for you to kind of get that idea ready and for the artists to kind of have like the concept put together? Like, are you submitting them full sketches or are you just throwing ideas out? Like, how does that normally work for you?
I usually try to get a sketch across or a drawing of some sort so that there's at least an idea that I have a vision of on paper so that the artist has something to run with. I've grown up in a collaborative arts world. I went to school for acting and set design. And I did get a minor in studio arts, but my main focus was more of an art where I'm working with other artists. And I think when you do a concept pitch, you have to be open to things getting changed or tweaked and letting the other artists have a little bit of input with what you have. So, there's a little bit of everything. I've had, detailed drawings back and forth with artists. I've had concepts pitched based off of, visions and then let the artist run with it. But to me, it's very fluid. It just depends on what your vision is, how aligned you guys are or, where your head's at, and you can make it happen.
Right. Do you have a favorite design that you've worked on for the Clink Room?
I think my most recent one that I did with Ryan was definitely my favorite, the Dangerous Waters.
Right.
I remember when the koi first came out, I originally thought, man, this is an awesome use of embroidery with a logo to create depth. And koi did so well that I thought, maybe we could do something with something that's a little bit more along the lines of something scarier or something a little bit darker. I thought it would be cool to have like glow ripples and have it like really dark and black or even dark navy. But I let him kind of just do what he wanted to do with it, because he's really good with the digital world, and boom, he came up with that.
Yeah.
With Joker's Wild and Sierra, that was a lot of back and forth. That was a lot of, me giving him a lot of drawings, specifically what I was looking at, what I was feeling. But yeah, there's a lot. It just depends on what you're doing. But Dangerous Waters was definitely my personal favorite that I did.
I love how that hat fits the canvas. So, most people get stuck in the trying to look at things like in an up-down perspective.
Yep.
Like the hat you're wearing and
Yep.
that I'm wearing.
Correct. Yeah.
The orientation is up down, which is fine. I mean, that's how most people design their hats. But your hat, with Ryan Simmons, amazing artist too. It just fits the hat so well, and there's so many little intricate details like the shadows and what you talked about, the rippling in the water.
Yeah.
Hat's all blue, so that it kind of just fits perfectly. And I think that one finished like the top seller that week, and
yeah,
I mean, it was a no-brainer. That hat is a star.
For me, I've spent some time in San Diego. I wish I would have known about the Clink Room when I was out there.
Right.
I didn't discover it till I heard about Clink Room like 2018, 2019, and I just looked at hats for like a year and a half before I bought anything.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally bought my first hat like really, really early 2021, and then just took off from there.
All right. Touching on Joker's Wild, so that's like that almost Harley Quinn color with the Joker on it.
Yeah.
Got the two colors split down the middle. I mean, you don't normally see that. What kind of made you kind of settle? Was that a Clink Room idea, or did you guys have it?
So that was so funny because that was something that I jokingly just said toward, like, we'd already had the logo, we already had the colorways, we already had everything done, and then Sierra was like, "Yeah, I love that idea," and I was like, I was kind of joking, but I'm down to see what happens.
Right.
And then he also wasn't sure if that was allowed or okay. So he did run it by Casey just to make sure. And then Casey said, "I love it, but submit it to, submit it first and then see how it does in Critz." And it did really well. I will say it seems to me like that hat, because of its uniqueness, will lend to be more of like a collector's item.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be less worn, but I really like that it touches on the vibes of the old school Harley Quinn Joker and, the playing cards and that design, but also has that idea of, the Batman Joker, the wildness of being crazy. So it turned out really nice.
Yeah. So right now, you have four like that actually made it, right? So you got 2 in production potentially, or waiting for the hats to arrive, and 2 that have come already and already delivered to you. What's that feeling like when you like? It's got to be different. I mean, you're wearing some Clink Room hats. You obviously collect. Like, how much is it different when you're opening a piece that's you had your hands?
It's really cool. I want to say thank God for dead stock, because I didn't think to like order like an extra hat or two to have,
just on ice.
Just so I have like a fresh one that I can say I never wore. It's a wall hanger, or something that conversation piece. But it's really surreal, because you don't know how it's going to turn out. I think the best thing about the Clink Room is trusting the embroidery process. I've seen so many sweet embroidery choices on Clink Room hats that you don't really see too often. And sometimes, designs can be very difficult to translate. So it's a deep process where, when I pitch a concept, it's also an extra layer that's going into an artist then designing, and then also the Clink Room then putting their touch on the embroidery, potentially maybe changing a colorway to make it more marketable or how they see fit, which is totally understandable. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's neat to see. And, you know, I honestly never thought I would get to this spot, but it's happened. So I'm just going to enjoy it.
Right. So you list your location on Instagram as Frederick, Maryland. So did you grow up there, or is that your
So
current?
yeah, so I'm originally from Frederick.
Okay.
I currently live in Newmarket, which is a little town just outside of Frederick, so still in Frederick County.
Okay.
And I went to school for art at the University of Pittsburgh, but most of my stuff is, you know, paintings, large scale paintings, a lot of sculptures, just a lot more hands-on art.
Mhm.
And so, you know, for me, a lot of my ideas and concepts that I have for hats, I think about, you know, maybe probably aren't a good idea for a hat. So it's like, all right, let's use this somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't use my art to pay the bills, but when it does, it feels nice. I work at a distillery full time, so that's my
Okay.
bread and butter.
Do you ever find it hard to kind of balance your role? Like, so, okay, so you've mentioned acting,
Yeah.
the artist stuff, and designing, and then just the full time part of it. Like, do you like how do you kind of keep those things balanced, and do sometimes like overlap and influence each other?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, the Clink Room has always been a hobby. This is something that, you know, as a collector and someone who has a lot of hats up to begin with, you know, I always wanted those one-off MILB hats.
Mhm.
And for me, you know, I've always said live happy, work happy, and just do what you want, you know. And, you know, if I didn't take the risk and message a couple people and look for insight, you know, you know, I'm thankful for a lot of people who guided me in the right direction early on in my Clink days, to get me to where I am now. So, you know, always do what you want to do is what I always say. And so things that I'm passionate about, I'm going to work with. That's my wisdom as I approach my elder years.
Right. So I noticed on your IG that you've worked with a slew of different artists. Clink has become really competitive, I would
Yeah,
say. We're up to 20 crits a week now.
yeah,
It was kind of a thing to stack up on him as Casey kind of took some time off and took a little vacation to spend with his family, which is awesome. But like now, it almost seems like it went from 10 to 15 for a sec. Now it's 20. Like 20 almost seems like it's kind of been the standard now. So like, what sorts of things could you tell aspiring clinkers or aspiring artists for? Like, I mean, we've all kind of been there. Like, we've all had, stuff make it, not all, but in a general sense, but like we've had stuff make it to the crits that we thought would do well. Maybe it doesn't, vote well, and it doesn't make it. Like, how do you kind of keep going and pouring yourself and time into concepts that potentially, don't see the light of day?
well, for me, I'm big on
Hmm.
quality over quantity, excuse
Hmm.
me. So I'm going to do all the research. If this is a marketable concept, is this going to sell well in the Clink Room? Are the guys at the Clink Room going to like it? Are the fans going to like it? And then say, okay, this is worth diving into,
Yeah.
rather than pitch a one-off concept that I'm having an attachment to that maybe will stick randomly. Um, you know, I think doing a lot of that research up front will save you a lot of time on the back end
Right.
and allow you to be more efficient with your submissions, because I see a lot of artists that will do the opposite, where it's a lot of quantity over quality. And yes, they will get a number of hats into the shop, but there's also a lot of filtering that's going on too.
Yeah.
And so I just try to do some of that more deep research and see, like, okay, what would another customer want to buy? I know I would want to buy this. Every concept that I'm going to pitch, I'm going to want to
You
buy
want it,
because it's my concept, you know.
exactly, yeah.
But I think understanding your market, understanding, you know, the business you're working with, understanding you're working with other artists. This is not just you. You know, I'm going to pitch a concept to somebody who's going to design it. And again, it's going to go to the Clink. They're then going to change maybe the embroidery or the design of the embroidery, anything along those lines to make it the best that it can be. So understanding that, I think, is really important.
Yeah, that's a really cool kind of mindset to have, because I'm always noticing that, like, as it kind of ramps up and as like the art I feel that hits the shop is more refined and more ready to go. I think we saw for the first time in a long time last Friday, well, yesterday, basically, for the pre-orders to hit. I think all 6 were just straight from Critz. There
Yeah.
wasn't any like not under the table ones, but you know what I mean, like things that we hadn't seen before, and they just like right from.
I think I even messaged the Instagram account, that for the Clink Room, and I said this might be one of the best weeks of like Critz to shop that I've seen in almost a year or two. I mean, a lot of hats that I want. I'm a little upset because I'm gonna have to spend a lot of money.
Work a little OT to.
That's right.
Hit. Yeah. Who are some of your favorite clinkers to even just see art from? Like, are there any favorites that you have?
You know, it's funny because I have a lot of artists who I like, and I think it's cool because most of the artists that I enjoy working with or pitching concepts to, they have their own style to begin with, which is really helpful, especially when you have a design or a concept in mind, knowing which artist to go to. I'm obviously all the artists that I've, already worked with. You know, I have pitched, and you can see on my Instagram designs with other artists as well. You know, I think one of the early designers that got me involved was probably Siak and Jacobo, because they just seem to be getting like 1 or 2 designs in the shop like every week. This was like right around like COVID time. And when everybody was home and you were just looking at Clink Room, had nothing better to do but look at hats getting released. It seemed like they were definitely releasing a lot of hats at that time. Brad and I connected because I have family in Australia and he's from Australia.
Awesome.
So we kind of had a similar idea with like just, you know, the light and fun aspect of designing a logo. He really captures that fun side and he makes his logos very universal. You know, almost every Brad racing design that I've seen, you could put it on, you know, an 85-year-old man or a 6-year-old girl, and it wouldn't matter. You know, anybody can wear his hats, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So depending on, you know, what the idea is or the concept I have, depends on who I'm going to go to. I'm hoping to get, you know, hats in with any artist who is willing to work with me, because, you know, if I'm reaching out to you, that means I like your style and I appreciate what you do. And, you know, I personally can, you know, understand from an artist's background what you do matters, and let's have some fun, you know?
It's funny you mentioned Brad. Brad's been on my mind a lot lately. Not to any fault of his own, because he's Australian and the viral breakdancer Rachel Gunn.
Oh yeah.
Was in the news, and I just keep thinking, like, what would Brad think? Like, her name is Ray Gunn, his name is Rayson.
Oh
Like,
no.
it's just one of those like funny things.
I'm sure his family's having fun with it back home.
Yeah. I'm expecting him to submit a breakdancing koala soon. So if you can nudge him in the right way, maybe hold him a ray gun or something.
Actually, that's
yeah.
That's sometimes how ideas happen. Take notes, everyone. Take notes.
Yeah. Him, my buddy Lee Rocky, and Tut. I'm thinking, like, oh my god, like Australia is just being roasted on the world stage because of this lady. But yeah, I was like, what's Brad thinking right now?
Right. Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, shout out to Brad and all the Australians right now. Right now, it's not a good time for them because of this breakdancer. But, you know, is what it is. At least people are talking about it, right? At least
Hey,
people are talking about.
there are people that can say they have medals for breakdancing.
Yeah,
It's
Canada took home the men's gold, so I'm happy with it. So
yeah.
in terms of your personal collection, so uh, where are some of your favorite places to shop other than the Clink Room? Like, who do you have any favorite designers or
Um,
teams you collect?
Most of my stuff has been just like MILB stuff
Hmm.
from what I found out to be a lot of Brandiosa's material.
Yeah.
And so when I found out that Brandios and the Clink Room were connected, I that really just helped me push that. I gravitate right now toward more exclusive Clink Room stuff just
Hmm.
because I like the idea of the fluidity of artists working with maybe like the common person or
Yep.
adjusting a concept and how that works in that process. The kickback aspect to the artist is a really cool concept.
Hmm.
Um, but also allowing it to be done in a professional way because you can go out and make your own hats if you want to, but
Yeah.
you're typically not designing the embroidery,
Yeah. I think
Um,
that's kind of where the step up happens. Where
exactly.
Casey gets that final touch, the final look over it, and make sure that it just gets handled in the right way.
But yeah, I've bought hats from anywhere from the MLB, from the MILB,
Hmm.
Noble North, Hat World, Hat Club, you name it. I've been there. New Era Direct, Lids, all the good stuff.
Cool. Cool. Uh, do you have any potential pieces like in the works right now? Any upcoming
I
collaborations?
do. I have a lot of pieces in the works. One thing I will exercise is patience. I
Yep.
have a lot of artists who are popular in the Clink Room and they're busy. And so, even though you pitch a concept, it's going to take a little bit of time and that's okay. Um, so it also helps build a pipeline and kind of stagger, like I said earlier, I don't really have a lot of different concepts that I want to just push and put out
Yeah.
because I do want to focus on making sure that the concept that gets pushed is going to be something that will sell and will stick and not something that's just going to be a low vote getter in crits and then get forgotten about.
Yeah. 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 Cool. Well, thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
Got to learn a little bit more about you, which is awesome. And
of course.
I'm on this mission to make sure that everyone that's kind of involved gets their shot and gets their chance to kind of tell their story. So that was pretty cool. So
Thank you.
let's
Appreciate it, man.
let's get into the happenings.
Okay,
So
let's do it.
this week I think was a pretty strong week in terms of the fresh colorway. So golden dropped. Now this one's a little bit more unique in the sense that it's the same colorway all throughout. The theme is obvious. It's like honey bees
Yep.
and that kind of that's golden. And now these all have a matching side patch. For you, I guess my first question is does the side patch um, help or hurt the hat for you?
Um, I, will- I'm. This is really hard for me because I'm always of the aspect of less is more.
Hmm.
And for me, a side patch is a little bit excessive. I like the nice little touch that New Era introduced with just their little small logo on the side.
Hmm.
But anything bigger than that for me is a little much. I will shout out my favorite side patch that the Clink Room does is the pencil that's in the wave. Um,
The San Diego one.
I used to surf right there at the pier in San Diego in Ocean Beach. I used to surf down at Point Loma, so that's like my hometown surf spot in my eyes. I was there
Mm-hmm.
for about 4 years. So for me, I have a special place in my heart. So those to me are really cool. I think your Leon version of Good Kitties had it on the side. So
Yep.
typically, I will be more deterred from buying a hat with a side patch. That's just me. I
Mhm.
understand why people do like the side patches because it adds an extra flair and it also allows you to identify, an iteration or a release of a hat that goes maybe in a set like this one does here.
Yeah. So for me, I think custom hats don't necessarily always need one, but if you're taking like the sports aspect part of it, like a lot of times these side patches are used to commemorate like a special game or a series or
Right. Yep.
whatever. But if it kind of enhances the storytelling,
Right.
that's where it kind of works for me.
Like the Karu that just came out. Is that what is how you say it?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, the Phil Hausers.
yeah,
Right,
where it
yeah,
has like a themed one. Those are cool. Or like even like the Catalina flying fish, where it's the California with the
mhm,
little mini flying fish.
yeah. So even like this one, so it's a hive above the
Yeah,
roof.
right, exactly.
It all kind of works. To me, it works the best kind of with the Murder Hornet, because there's like weaponry in the design. So I think
Yes.
that's probably one of the reasons why it sold out. So let's just kind of break down the drop 3x3. So Murder Hornets right there, Austin. I think that one is in my top 5 Clink Room designs probably ever.
Yeah.
Honey Hustler by Gabe and Honey Bear by Adam. What are your initial thoughts on this trio right here?
They're all so sharp.
Mhm.
I am I'm kicking myself for not getting the original Murder Hornets when it was first put up into the shop,
Dora, I'm in that.
because
I'm
that's
in
the
that.
only one without a side patch. And so
Yeah.
I don't have one of those. They're even so desirable, they're worth just buying to collect. Which is probably why it did sell out so fast, because I agree with you. I think Murder Hornets is one of the best designs ever submitted to the Clink Room. If you look at the fine detail, the stitching, from every aspect, it was done flawlessly. This is a beautiful colorway for all these hats. I actually have Honey Bear in the original colorway. That is
Oh,
one of my
awesome.
favorite hats. The original colorways are brown and black, and I have, this almost has that feel with that gold stitching. This is timeless, man. These colorways are great. Honey Hustler, immaculate embroidery. They really did a great job with the 6 hats they chose for this.
Yeah. Murder Hornets, the original was more of like a flat gold. This one's a more metallic gold, which I think it just makes it kind
It's
of stand out
amazing.
more. And then just the small details. I Part of me when it first went up for pre-order, I don't think I ordered it right away because I was thinking like there's no way New Era approves this. There's so many
Yeah.
like, little weapons, the brass knucks, uh the knives, the shaving cleavers, and I was like there's no way. But yeah, this one is the one that really got ordered up. I think right now I'm looking at the Fresh Colorway portion on the website. There's only 6 and 7/8 left over. So this
Wow.
one obviously flew. It's the imagery is so striking, and the details are so good. I mean, Austin really killed it. Uh, the other two, Honey Hustler and Golden Bear, I think the more you see them, the more kind of desirable they get. Like just that kind of red Terminator eyes of the bears.
Yeah.
It just makes them look a little bit more menacing. And they're those two are really different than their original kind of colorways, I feel like.
Yeah. No,
So
I mean, and that's one thing that I will say can be really unique is, like you said, you change a colorway up and you actually get a better hat,
mhm.
because this gold is really making these pop.
Yeah.
I love the metallic thread. I think it should be utilized more in designs.
Yeah.
I remember getting a mystery hat, and it was an owl. I want to say it was a Milos. I forget who did it. Maybe it was Gabe. It was either Gabe or Milos. But
Was it the owl with it like the silhouette with the thing in like with like that kind of landscape
no,
inside?
it was like a Mardi Gras themed owl. He had like a top hat, and like a little like monocle, and he's like got his wings
Oh,
spread,
right. It's like black and gold.
and it's black and gold with like a
Okay.
little bit of like a teal blue, like the UV here,
Yeah.
but it's
That's a Gabe.
metallic gold visor.
Yeah, that's a Gabe hat.
Yeah, Gabe.
Alistair.
So yeah, which is ironic because we're sitting here looking at Gabe's Honey Hustler too. But yeah, so I got that, and that had metallic gold on it, and I was like, I'd never seen a hat with metallic gold on it yet because I hadn't ordered one, and it was amazing. So anytime I see one, I'm like, you got to get these. I'm surprised more of these haven't sold out yet.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I mean, they'll never make it public, but like, I'm curious to see what the runs would be on stuff like this. I think the first couple shock drops, they just blew out because it was Big Clink and like the Clink Con. I think those were originally supposed to be colorways. They just broke them up in smaller pieces, and they kept going.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember like where remember like when Free Lollipop had new colorways? Did they release the chocolate and the raspberry at the same time, or was those two separate drops?
I don't remember specifically. It might have been together.
Because I think that was like some of the first iterations when it was just like a couple of hats at a time or just one at a time. And then they started doing the whole sets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But those might have been. Hold on. Those might have just been. I remember the red and the purple were up at
The red
pre-order.
and the purple was that first.
Yeah. And then they did an X-ray version. And then I think, yeah, like the blue one came out after. But it's all a blur, man.
Yeah, I know.
For me now, like
Full speed ahead.
yeah. All right, so let's cover the next three. So we got Hive Mind, which is one of the early 2.0s, Swinging Stinger, and Killer Bees. What are your initial thoughts on these three?
These are amazing, man. I mean, if you're anybody who's a beekeeper, if you're into honey, if you're into something sweet, if you're into, I mean, you got two basically baseball theme hats. If you're into baseball with, Killer Bees and Swinging Stingers. So these are awesome. Hive Mind is one of the best skull designs I've ever seen in the Clink Room.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people utilize skulls in designs, but nobody really ever utilizes adapting the skull. Catacombs is one that comes to mind that was done really well by Casey. But these are absolute fire. The gold really helps these logos pop so much, and the black and red is timeless, synonymous with the 90s Bulls and all that greatness. That these are just really marketable. I think they're this is one of the cleanest and best organized drops that they've done for the Fresh Colorways since they've started doing it. How do you feel about
that? I'm right there with you. I think the theme fits, the patch works, and the colorway works. So
and they're all themed together. It's great.
Yeah.
It's all, I mean, there were a couple that were a little bit, they tried to theme that maybe some didn't match completely, but this is the best one of the lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which ones did you get out of these?
Murder Hornets. I think it was the only one I got out of this one. But now that I keep looking at it, I'm kind of regretting not getting Hive Mind. So I might have to go back and scoop it.
I love the little drip effect, the little +1,
Yeah, and Swinging Stinger is so good too. So basically how I look at it right now, Hive Mind, I don't think Austin really gets enough credit for being that kind of like less is more artist. Like right now, Rick Clifton's kind of running with that kind of
simple,
yeah. And
and Austin
color designs.
Austin's more, I would say Austin's more abstract too. He definitely is a little bit better at grabbing your eyes and making it think a little bit outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
And he's somebody I reached out to very early on to try and collaborate with. But he was honest with me. He's like, I'm too busy to really do collaborations. So I understand that. So I really thank a lot of the people who I reach out to who are willing to work with me, because it does take up your time, and it can be a lot depending on what you're working on and what you're designing.
Yeah, there's something about his stuff like that. It may not look like so crazy when it's like mocked up and on a hat, but when you see the final product and you
You're like,
see after Casey kind of gets his hands on it, like look how like textured that skull is and the shape and just how much it just pops off that hat. It's just really good.
and I'm glad you're pointing that out because that was a learning curve for me with the Clink Room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, early on with designs, I wasn't thinking about the fact that, you know, there's extra drawing that's going to be done within the shape of a color.
Yeah.
And you know, and so it's okay to have larger, different designs, larger, blotchier areas, or a thicker line, so that, you know, they have a little bit more fun with being able to design a cool stitching pattern to enhance the design.
Yeah.
And Austin gets it perfectly.
Yeah. And I'm glad to see Swain Stinger back. I mean, Sierra Gons, I mean, you know how talented he is and
Of course.
how powerful of an artist he is. They took his original, which was like black and yellow, black and gold, like kind of like that Wu-Tang kind of
Yeah.
that color, and then now they kind of just use just the black canvas and then the metallics to kind of accentuate the art. I always thought that this one was like the baseball version of like the Honey Nut Cheerio.
Yeah.
Dot, and it's just really badass and cool to kind of see it back.
This one, in my eyes, is one of my favorite baseball themed honey hats, just
Mhm.
because the use of the little honey spoon dabber as
Yeah.
the baseball bat is just so genius.
Yep.
Sierra, I think, is really good at his plus ones and finding that one little extra thing that pushes his designs over the top. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to be biased towards Sierra, as I mentioned earlier. I mean, I have 2 hats with him, and I've only ever pitched 2 designs to him, so now there's pressure.
Yeah.
But the framing of this one's great. I think you know it fits as an actual, you know, sports logo, which is really cool. I think the Clink Room very much had that vibe early on. And they flourished with both nice, you know, fun logos like this and the darker style, or, you know, abstracty conceptual like the Hive Mind. And now you're seeing realistic stuff more, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then Killer Bees, I mean, you know, Cod and doesn't really get enough credit. You know, he does a lot of good, clean art, and he understands the process really well. This piece itself, Killer Bees, in my eyes, is one of the best embroidery jobs of a design from you know, page to hat. And obviously in this colorway, it's going to pop even more because black and gold is awesome.
Yeah. The original piece that he did with Italu, uh, it's like this kind of like slate, almost green and
Yeah, it's like a greenish
black.
color. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. This one
I think it
really
looks
like
good.
so.
It reminds me of the Green Hornet a little bit from back
Yeah.
in the day.
Yeah, but taking it and just putting it on black just lets the logo shine, and you kind of get to really enjoy the art. And they nailed it. They kind of just kept it to 2 color. Uh, I don't know. It's a solid pack, man. This
Yeah,
might be my favorite like theme plus colorway pack. I mean, they haven't done many. They've done a
yeah.
lot of themes, or have done a lot of colorways. I feel like.
I mean, I'm obviously biased too because
Yeah.
my school colors in high school were black and gold. So
Okay.
this hits on a lot of levels for me, and I think the Clink Room nailed this one.
Yeah.
These are going to be talked about for a very long time.
I think if you take away the obvious ones like the Clink Classics and the Big Clink, and then um the Kongs, and then I think like Smoke to me ranks high because it was so cool, like how he just kind of took like all kind of um smoke, like he took those kind of logos and made them kind of dressed them down in like a smoky
Yeah,
hue. I thought that was like a really cool
I loved that.
concept.
I loved that
um
drop.
yeah, but then I think this one ranks right up there.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I mean, I'm biased. I think mine was pretty cool. And then
Yeah.
we have part 2 coming soon. Part 2 coming soon. So, but yeah, I think it's an awesome week. So if you guys don't like waiting for a pre-order, Fresh Colorways, I think is a fair and different way to kind of consume. You know, you don't have to wait. You know, you can either add to the collection if you had it, or you can get the logo that you missed if potentially you stepped on it in pre-order. I
mean, this is brilliant for people who, you know, are just finding out about Clink Room, because now you get to have a retro design in a potentially cooler colorway than you would have even had to begin with. So
exactly. All right. So that's that. Now we're going to cover the last call. So if you guys are seeing this on noon Sunday, you have about 12 hours to get your pre-order in before they send these next 6 designs into production. So we got the Paul Revere Rewrite at Midnight inspired hat, the Retro Cali, and Frenchy Pup. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, this is one of the better drops I've seen in a while in the Clink Room as well. My favorite of these 3 personally, just because of my attachment to when I was living in San Diego and had my residency there. The Retro Cali hits on all levels. It has that feel of like just all the Cali vibes. The colors of the flag are represented. It has the letters, the CA. You don't see many Clink hats with letters, so this is definitely a hat that, you know, will be a collector's item in addition to embroidering really, really well. And I'm not a huge Frenchie person personally, but I love the series, and I think this is one of the cuter versions that I don't, you know, if I was collecting them, this is the one-off that I would want. And We Ride at Midnight speaks for itself. I think that was destined to be a future Hall of Famer until Pause just came out from Flanagan. But I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but the MLB did a thing for on-field hats a while ago. This was like 20 years ago, maybe even longer, where they had the American flag on the side of the on-field hats.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the little shout out for these caps that they did for the Go USA and also for We Ride at Midnight, with this little backwards flag kind of nod to those hats. Very nostalgic and a nice little touch.
Yeah, I think they started doing that for 9/11.
Is that what it was for? Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I think it was 9/11, and then occasionally like the 4th of July weekend, like the American flag would come out, and then later, you saw it for kind of like most countries for the WBC.
Okay, yeah.
So, really smart to do it. So it looks. So to most people, that is the right side it should be facing, because that's the way you would hold your flag into battle. So like that's kind of like the military style way to do it. I think it's a cool look. You'll see it used pretty soon in another thing. So little foreshadowing for you there. But yeah, it's just like this was a cool week because this was like the Brandiose week.
Yeah, no, exactly. So you knew it was going to be a clean week.
Yeah, so he kind of like flexed his muscles there. The Retro Cali is like that faux back look, like that fake, you know, that fake old kind of.
Like that has almost that 70s feel.
Yeah,
70s, 80s almost.
And then Frenchy, yeah, it's hard to go. And then the Frenchy Pup is like kind of like the prequel to all of Jason's V's.
Yeah,
V's,
the origin story.
Yeah. I love the Frenchy series. A part of me just wishes we could get these like same hats and just all different Frenchy colors though. Black, brindle, like just the different blue, you know, like the different.
Like that's one thing that I wish we could bring back. Is more, you know, flavor with some material, you know.
Yeah.
If we had a brindle brim or a visor, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just would like to see this dog, which probably he owns. I keep forgetting
Yeah.
to ask him, but yeah. One of my best friends, Matt, has a dog. Well, has two Frenchies, like one like this, Ray, that was like pretty much this exact color, and then he's got another dog, um, that's like that kind of like dark, really, really dark brownish, blackish color. So I was
Okay.
just curious to see like just like how these would come in different colorways. So it doesn't happen that often, but you know, I'd like to see it for
Yeah.
the other Frenchie lovers. But Jason V just rock star artist, one of
Yeah.
the pillars of the clinkers. So great little three piece here. Gulls, We Dream Hawaii and Ice Rain. So you mentioned a little bit about like discovering uh, like different MILB minor league teams and kind of grandiose and their journey. The West Tennessee Diamond Jacks was actually their first client, so that I think Ice Rain is kind of
Gotcha.
like a
Like a shout out to that.
yeah, yeah.
I'm unfamiliar with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah. So basically, right out of um, art school, Jason and Casey, when they formed their studio, they basically hand wrote letters to 600 teams,
Oh,
and one
cool.
of them responded, and that's kind of how they formed their studio. Uh, and so the West Tennessee Diamond Jacks said, "Sure, we'll give you guys a shot," and kind of the rest is history. So that's their shout out to them.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then Gulls, and then We Dream Hawaii. So
Yeah.
Casey, like you, big surfer. So
I'm
that's
telling you right now, I loved this drop when it hit because, for me, goals and We Dream Hawaii were in that same boat for me as the Retro Cali.
mhm.
I got, you know, I've already gotten the goals, but I have to get the Hawaii and the Retro Cali before tonight. So yeah, these are definitely one of the better drops I've seen. I love how he used Hawaii in the wave and creating that shape. And anything with the surfboard on it, I'm typically going to get. So
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so grandiose week kind of coming to a close.
crushed it. Yeah.
It's cool to see it, man. I like the thematic aspects and kind of like the packs and stuff like that. So he kind of got to flex his pencil a little bit more. So awesome week for sure. Make sure you guys get your pre-orders in tonight. Um, Now we're gonna cover the shock drop. So the Suka Narami and the Catalina Flying Fish. So like right now to get this Clink classic patch, it's kind of like a badge of honor. I don't know exactly what the number is, but you got to sell a lot of units um, to kind of earn that spot. And I think that's a cool kind of badge of honor that these artists and clinkers can kind of wear. What are your initial thoughts on these two?
Well, first off, shout out to Ryan Simmons because we just had a hat together that is going to earn this badge with the amount of units that we did. So thank you. But in my eyes, these are two of the cleanest embroideries that Clink has ever done. It's up
Yeah.
there with Murder Hornets, as just from page to hat is amazing. The Catalina Flying Fish, if you look at the back wing, you can see the slight orange color shining through the wing of the sea. I mean, those are little touches that people who are submitting art need to pay attention to. Those are what make your design stand out and make your choices seem purposeful. Um, I love the Sakuranami. I'm partial. I have the original, and then I got the all black one that came out that had like the pink and gray and black
That pewter color,
logo.
yeah. Yep.
And that has a side patch, so I do buy side patches. Um, but yeah, this is like you said, this is a badge of honor to get the classics. This is really cool. I think we've seen a lot of the Catalina Flying Fish recently.
Hmm.
Um, But the Sakuranami is one of my favorites too. I mean, come on, man. It's a surfing shout out with the wave, but it's got depth because it's got the mountain in the background. Yeah, these are both just so clean.
Yeah, this, like you said, these two, the things that stick out the most about these two hats is just the level of depth and understanding and embroidery.
Yeah,
The Sukuranami, like just how packed of threading it has in such a small area.
yeah,
It's almost like someone painted something and then like the paint hardened
yeah.
and you could feel the texture. It's almost like a sculpture made out of.
It really is. The 3D
Yeah.
effect on that hat is awesome.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned, so I have the Catalina in hand, and when I was approached by Casey's like, hey, how about you color up a couple? Catalina was at the top of my list.
Yeah,
Things that I wanted to play with, just because of how well the art was done, the shadowing, the different colors like that you mentioned within the wings. The original had like almost like an iridescent look.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yo, this thing is top tier. So I have this one in hand, and just kind of like what you mentioned, like the different colors. You can see it like the sea go behind the wings, and then lower where it kind of doesn't touch anything here. It kind of just like the hat color kind of seeps through. Just those like little like details.
That's
because there's thread there.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and then the shadowing at the bottom, real cool touch. So, I mean, Aaron Bird is the word, man. That guy, top tier, Clink classic.
But I do love how there's that negative space between the sea and the fish, where it's just the hat.
Yeah,
that's done so clean.
And it's kind of done in this like almost like a old school Florida Marlins.
Yeah,
I love how these are like kind of tying back to the baseball roots, because I believe it was like the Cubs had like a spring training facility in Catalina Island or on Catalina Island.
Okay,
that's kind of why
this started.
Like Cubs C. But yeah, just Aaron
that's cool.
Just nailed it. Just one of those things where I saw the mock-up and I didn't see the vision. I remember Pierre, who hosts VFT with me, when he first saw it, he's like, yeah, that thing's gonna be killer. I'm like, I don't know, can they pull off the wings? Can they do that? I was kind of like skeptical. And then when I saw the original hat, I'm like, yeah, I made a grave error in judgment. And it happens from time to time, but they knocked this one out of the park, and up there with the Murder Hornets, man, top 5, I think, designs ever. So it was an honor to get to recolor this design in a different way.
And I do like how the colorway fits for the vibe of the logo too.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And even with the other one too, I mean, with Sakuranami, you got a more of a midnight feel, or like a dusk.
Yeah, it's just that the one of the original colorway, like that black and gray, was almost like so perfect. You're like, how do you even do this?
How do you beat that? Yeah, that's one of my favorite hats that I have from the Clink Room.
Yeah,
that one was done so well.
That one is like, not to nerd out, but like perfect. Like, where do you even go from there? Like that colorway. I mean, maybe all black, but
yeah, no, it was done. Yeah, because it's like almost like the gray was simulating like the volcanic ash idea from like the volcano in the background. Yeah.
And the Hat Club kind of popularized that, like gray black two-tone.
Yeah.
In their Fuji drop, I just think like every time now I see like a Japanese design, it's like almost like you almost have to take it on the black gray two-tone, even though it doesn't really say Japan, but like now it's just like Hat Club did such a good job of marketing that colorway that you just think that like all Japanese hats deserve.
It makes me think of that Tokyo drop that they had that was really good.
Yeah, the Fuji drop. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, cool. And Clink's tied to Hat Club, so I mean, it's like a good kind of partnership. But yeah, let's get into the crits. So I believe there's 20 slides, but one of them has glow in the dark. So there's 19 entries.
Okay.
This week. So we're starting off with Heather. I'm starting off strong. Ghost Hunter. What do you think of this one?
This is one of Heather's best works in my eyes. I think this is super, super creative. I love the use of the camo, the colorway hits. I think my favorite part of this hat is the shadow effect of the ghost. That little like mint blue is also the UV. You know, a lot of times the UV can make or break a hat. And in this case, I really think that the UV ties in perfectly because it's not what you expect. It's that one little one-off aspect of it. But this is clean. I like the play on the hunter, you know, and using the bow, which is very synonymous with, you know, a traditional quiet hunt, and ghosts are usually quiet. So yeah, everything about this hits. If you saw this on somebody walking down the street, I can guarantee you they would know exactly what hat this is, and they could tell you the name just from looking at it. This is great.
Yeah, this one's badass. There's like a couple small like details that I'd want to like kind of flush out. Like I think the hands, the fingers kind of being different sizes. I think like the line of the, I don't even know what it's called, but the line of the bow, it kind of seems a little floppy a little bit. So just to kind of just straighten it out a little bit.
Yeah, I will say that the bow seems a little bit short, where the, you know, our left side, but the actual ghost's right arm, it seems like should go out a little bit, and you have room. It is a really good use of the canvas, as we were talking about earlier.
It's a cool perspective.
It is.
Yeah.
But I'm also, I question the use of the hat with that detailed like splotch. It's a cool design, but I don't know if it's needed.
Yeah.
I think you could maybe even do more of like a bucket hat or something different, or not. You know, I don't even think you need a hat really. It might even pop more without a hat.
Yeah, she's got like two different camos, right? So she's wearing a digi camo hat, and then he's got well, then she's got the woodland camo. So it's like two different camos. But yeah, it's cool to kind of see the evolution of this concept. She posted like a time lapse drawing.
Yeah, I saw that. That's really cool.
Yeah, and then this one looks really like cleaned up and kind of more ready for wear. But yeah, just small details here and there. But I think this one is pretty cool. I like the use of like that kind of light blue throughout, kind of shadowing that she's playing with.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's cool. All right, number 2, man's best friend, Big Flies and Wind Studio. So kind of like almost a half continuation of the one that just hit pre-order this week with his the wolf in the wolf with the wolf howling.
Yeah, it's almost like a story, you know.
Yeah,
and we're getting to see the different chapters.
Yeah.
I'm partial to these types of hats because they speak on so many levels. They tell a story, they create depth. Conceptually, they're always done really well. I mean, Win Studios' art is probably one of the cleanest in the Clink Room. He always translates well to embroidery. I like the aspect of pulling in not only the surrounding elements of like the water and the trees, but you also have, you know, the guy and the wolf too. I will say, I think this is almost a little bit too similar to his previous design too soon.
Yeah.
I think this needed to be maybe spaced out a little bit to be a follow-up, but also get your design out there. Yeah, I think this would sell really well because it looks clean. I think it would embroider well. I love the shading in the guy's pants and the cloak. Those elements look really good and clean and the shadowing effect is great.
Yeah, I almost feel like he over colored this a little bit. Like the concept's cool. I'm with you. It might be a little bit too close in terms of timing for his other one. Like if this were to hit pre-order like next week, you wonder.
You're battling your hats.
You're fighting yourself almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this one reminds me of that meme, that of that guy that it zooms in on his face and he just does that nod.
Yeah.
So that it's giving me that kind of vibe.
Okay.
I like the colorway, blue on blue. It's kind of like blue jeans, alt 4 color, like just like the kind of color blocking of the hat that when they wear powder blue.
It almost reminds me of like a Toronto Blue Jays colorway, even.
Yeah. So this is the color of the hat they wear when they wear the powder blue jerseys.
Yeah. I thought that's what you were saying. I was wondering.
Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, I just feel like it's almost a little like the like he's always kind of showing off his tricks and his lighting, which is cool, but like sometimes I wish he would just dial it back a little, like just a degree. Like so like I'll use his jacket as an example. So you got that kind of beige color, then you got the black shadowing, and then you got that little extra light blue. I almost feel like you don't need the light blue, just have it shadow and you're good.
I'm not. You said there's. I'm not seeing light blue in there.
It's like almost like a grayish, like the tips of the beige. He's got like
the little streaks there.
Yeah, like an extra color. Like you almost don't need that.
Yeah.
Piece, just let it ride. So it's almost like you're either overdrawing or you're adding things.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail here. Like, I think we were talking about that earlier. Sometimes you just got to let the embroidery do that.
Yeah.
I think you're right. You could get rid of some of that and let some of the stitching allow for that texture to shine.
Yeah. I saw a comment on the Discord like one time. It's like they were saying something. I don't remember the exact wording is, and I forgot who exactly said it, but they were saying like, I don't want a mural on my hat. And, and that's one of the things that kind of stuck out to me. It's like, yeah, like it's cool because I think part of it is like the stuff you talked about, like, just making sure it does well in voting, make sure people want it. So it's like you're doing all these things to get the votes and kind of get noticed, but at the end of the day, like you're hurting yourself because now you've got all these extra details that doesn't accentuate or kind of help the art.
So, yeah. Well, I also think too, personally, once you do all those background, thinking about things, you also then have to say, I already just did this concept. Like, I mean, this is so similar to the one that just came out that it is difficult to say, hey, like, now you're competing with yourself if it does make the shop. And then, you're wondering, maybe I should have just done one of these. And this is where I was talking about more of the quantity over quality or, kind of thing. This is someone who I think does a lot more quantity as far as submissions is concerned. In fact, the first two artists we saw are definitely, as far as submissions that I see, two people that are always putting through stuff for consideration.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Trial
by Fire, Seamus and Rusty, paying homage to the Salem witch trials. It looks like. What are your thoughts on this?
I really like the concept. I'm sure Rusty Bees is the one who came with this, and I'm sure Seamus probably had an experience that was similar and said this sounds awesome. I like the texture and what's done with the fire, but again, I think if you do more patchier style fire, then the embroidery can kind of play a little bit more. I like the idea. I think this is a little bit too busy for me personally. Mm-hmm. I would like to see more focus on an up close, like witch figure for someone to connect with. I think in art, you learn if you're doing something with a logo, if it's not like a landscape, it needs to be a figure, and that figure needs to be connected with. And in this case, the witch is turned backwards, so you don't have a face to connect with. And they're not really like, what's the focal point here? Is it Is it the hammers? Is it the witch? Is it the fire? So I think they're all kind of conflicting each other. I think it's needs some tweaks and will eventually become something that could make it into the shop. But as far as the design's concerned and the background on it, I wish I had thought of this, because this hasn't really been done or touched in the Clink Room as far as I can remember. And it has a big following, and I think this would sell really well.
Yeah. A couple of things come to mind when I look at something like this. Number one is a cool use of a colorway that we don't normally see. So
yes,
got like this graphite with hot orange.
It's the coals. It reminds me of the coals.
Yeah, we don't see that often. My whole thing with this is that like this is such a like the whole Salem witch trials, like it just seems insane that people would just be accused of being witches and burned at the stake. Like it just almost seems like it was impossible that this happened, and it really did happen, and it was really not that long ago. So you got the gavels, which is cool. I almost feel like it's just two separate things stacked up on each other. They're not really that cohesive, because to me, like when I think of like the Salem witch trials, I don't think of like, you know, like cool democracy being played out, and kind of like the proper was it the word jurisprudence was thing. I mean, you were just burning people at the stake.
Right.
It just seems
insane.
But like the subject matter is kind of like, you know, like you're doing a design based on, you know, a bunch of people dying and stuff like that. So
you did bring up it's very specific, which is which in my eyes, I think this unfortunately would have a hard time selling in the Clink Room, I think, just because of how specific it is, which is sad, because I think this is type of stuff conceptually that should be going through because of its uniqueness. But I just noted what you were talking about earlier. I like how the witch is integrated to the large flame, but the flame in the front almost seems like it's just a layer just plopped on top. And now I see what you're saying with that.
Yeah, and then there's almost no integration
to like the hammers and the back.
The hammers, it does have a little bit
or the gavels, I should say.
Yeah. But there's not like a lot of like integrate. Like you kind of want to see like the fire kind of flowing either behind or within or underneath, and it just kind of like take out that symmetry, because he's trying it's basically a symmetrical design. For me, I want more randomness and kind of like through and whatever. But I think it's like a cool attempt. I mean, he posted, I think this was based on his family trip to Salem last year and whatever. But I don't know, whenever you're like kind of profiting on people's like death potentially, like it's kind of whatever. But it's cool, it's different. I mean, it's a different kind of subject that no one's really touched.
No, it's original, it's inventive, imaginative. It's got a story. You get what it is when you see it. Cool colorway, clean artwork. But there are some things that I think need some tweaks to be worked on.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right. Moving forward, we have number 4, Sculbit, Chris Boyer. I'm not familiar with their work, so I'm gonna look them up while you give me your initial thoughts.
Cool. I appreciate you doing that, because I'm not familiar with Chris Boyer either. My initial, insight, just as far as like this is the learning curve I was talking about earlier. There's too many fine details in here, and a lot of the thread work that the Clink Room could do with the embroidery could do a lot of this fine stitching style looking art that's on here. So as far as just getting that out of the way for the artist to understand Clink and embroidery and a hat logo, less is more again. But as far as, this is a cool golf idea. I think this person's being smart, because, skulls seem to do well in the Clink Room, in the darker realm of things. and they're very popular, like with, you know, art, like within tattoo artists and things like that. So I think this definitely has potential to do well, but I think it just needs to be toned back a little bit. I'm not quite sure if the top of the head of the skull is blue because we're trying to create depth, like a blue, yellow, white, or I'm not really sure what that is, but
Mhm.
I don't think it's necessary. I think it's a little bit excessive. Um, but I think this actually would work better with a different colorway too. The navy just doesn't scream golf to me. I think I would do like a green or um, something even like a powder blue.
Yeah.
What do you think? What does the background say on the concept?
So this was his debut entry. So
Okay.
this is actually really interesting. So he's out of
Oh,
Indianapolis, Indiana. This entry is from April 19th, 2021. So
oh
Clink Room
wow.
went back and dug and found this one. They gave it the triple clap 3 days ago. So that's pretty cool that they dug deep and they found it.
Interesting.
So yeah, not a regular Clink submitter by any means. I think from what I'm seeing, this was his first and only. So maybe they
There
went
was a
back and found it. So who knows?
Did
Uh,
you see the recent video that went viral of the guys fighting on the golf course? It was like, I don't know, just basically grown men going at it and, you know, full on fighting. And this is what this reminds me of.
yeah. This
So
is
I don't know. Maybe it might be a little bit too dark and vulgar for Clink and maybe for you know, legal. Like you said with the Salem witch trials. I mean, this is a little bit, you know, promoting violence.
you would have to get hit so hard in the head with the golf club for that to
For
happen.
that to bend, yeah.
Oh, like that? That's insane.
It almost looks like like two pigtails flying back
Pigtail.
too.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. This one's cool. It's a little bit more.
Great work
Um,
of canvas. You know, the use of canvas is good. The way it spreads.
yeah, yeah. It does look like it's colored like a tattoo though, kind of like the shading
Yeah,
and it feels like a tattoo. So yeah, I think it's cool. So good to see Chris finally get
yeah,
Monday Critz
right.
3 years later. So never give up, right?
That's right.
Yeah, this one's cool. Skilled it. Shaka Lantern by Stinker Scott. What are your thoughts here?
I think this is pretty cool. You know, my first initial thought when I saw this was maybe I should buy a pineapple this year for Halloween and carve a pineapple instead of a pumpkin. You know,
Yeah.
obviously, it's got the cool, you know, Rasta-ish themed colors. You got the pineapple, which is synonymous with, you know, the Caribbean and Central America and those areas anywhere south where it's, you know, pineapples grow everywhere. You got the surfboard. So for me, you know, this hits on a lot of different levels. I like the creativity. I think there's a lot that can be done with the embroidery. Um, Now, I do think the shaping of things is a little off. This one feels a little bit rushed and forced in general. I don't understand why the surfboard is very like circular and kind of, but then like the hands are very boxy and like kind of cubic. That's interesting to me. But as far as like, you know, I like the play on the Shaka Lantern and that name. And you know, this is something that is difficult for me because I think colorways like this and brighter stuff and where colors enhance or tie into the hat are really important to me. Sometimes the Clink Room will change this, so I could see them making this a black crown for marketability purposes, so that the logo pops, and then having, you know, one or two colors under for the visor that'll help enhance those other colors on the actual logo. But yeah, I like it.
So this one, I feel like suffers a little bit from, like, I mean, like if he just like freestyled it and
Yeah.
kind of freehanded the art, like that's one thing. But I almost feel like it's like so many elements kind of stacked on each other that don't really work well with each other. Like the scale of the pineapple, you're either thinking like, hey, that's a really big pineapple or that's a really small surfboard.
Yeah, no, I get that. And like, how's the arm going around the board from where the pineapple's arm is coming from?
Mm-hmm.
The hands seem like they're just floating. They're not really connected to anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the way the bottom is kind of cut off of the pineapple and the board kind of merging together is a little bit odd. It's
Yeah.
almost like it needs to have like a sand like wave introduced, so like the pineapple sitting in the sand and the board's like stuck in the sand next to it or something like that.
Yeah. And yeah, like, and you mentioned like the perspective, like, so like the kind of where the face sits on the pineapple is kind of like in a weird
Yeah, and
position.
there's no texture of the pineapple where the nose area is. That's just empty.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this needs a little bit of
Rework.
a second pass. Like, these are the things that it'll serve you to post like the art, but then not on
The hat.
the final hat. And that way you kind
I,
of work it through and kind of get the feedback and kind of refine it so that when it hits here,
yeah,
it's almost ready to go. So
yeah,
I think that
I
would be
agree.
my advice.
Another example. Yeah, where you got to just do your research a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And the colorway, like, we got like different things intersecting each other. So you got like the pineapple, which makes me think of like summer. The jack-o'-lantern makes me think of fall, and then you got your colorway in green red, which makes you think of like Christmas, essentially.
Yeah,
It's like you got all these things working almost against each other. There's no like synergy within the hat almost.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good attempt. I mean, keep at it, Scott.
Yeah.
But I think some refinement and
Well, these days in the Clink Room, when you got 20 hats to compete against, it's
yeah,
you really got to, like you
you
said,
got to stick out. You
that
got to
final
be,
submission needs to be the right one.
yeah.
And I've missed on that. I really want to get a hat with Milos, and he's a great artist, but unfortunately, the hat that we submitted, the colorway didn't quite stick in the voting because it wasn't what people wanted.
Yeah.
So we should have done that research ahead of time, and sometimes you learn the hard way.
Yeah, you don't want to kill like your idea before you give it like a proper chance to make it, almost like
Exactly.
right brothering, like you want to just make sure that the plane is ready to fly before
Yeah.
you crash it. So really you don't get many shots at it. So hopefully and who knows, maybe it just makes it right out. We don't know. Like, we'll see how it goes. But
Yeah.
never.
I will say, I think I've noticed in general, surf hats have a harder time in the Clink Room selling overall.
Yeah.
But that's better for me because then there's less people wearing them.
Exactly. Desert Runner, Clinker Brad Racing, not to be confused with Ray Gunn design. It's his follow up to his Scorpion version, which was like that 90s era Phoenix Coyotes, Kachina style. So like now he's got the Roadrunner, another kind of staple in the Arizona area. What are your thoughts here?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm very partial to this one. I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brad always does a great job with his designs. I pretty much always have a collaboration in the works with Brad at any given time because he's one of my favorite artists in the Clink Room. And this is an example of his finest work in my eyes. I mean, you can see the little landscape in the background. I love this is one of those logos that you get drawn in. you take a look at it at first, and the thing that attracts you is the shape and the rigidness of the orientation where it's diagonals. And then you say, well, what is that? And then you come a little bit closer and you go, wow, that's really cool traditional style of artwork. And that's a bird. It's running fast, and it's so fast that its neck's turned around. And wait a minute, that's a cool landscape in the background too. So I think this is beautiful. The colorway is done perfectly. I would buy this instantly. This fits the Arizona Scorpions theme, which, you know, the OG one I have a couple of the renditions of the colorways as well. One of my favorite done hats of all time. So yeah, this is going to be a hat that I'm going to be very upset if it does not make the shop.
And that like kind of color palette that the Coyotes pick, man, so much flavor to it to me, like that kind of seashell with the purple and the teals and the greens and the oranges. It just works really, really well.
It really does.
Yeah. And it's very unfortunate that the NHL has lost the Coyotes to Utah. Now that the Utah hockey team, there's just no flavor and no personality there. So hopefully Phoenix gets a team again. But in the meanwhile,
did they rename that team? Do you know?
It's temporarily gonna. Well, for this season upcoming, they'll be the Utah hockey team.
Got it. Because I know they were trying to figure out names. I didn't know if it had gotten released.
Yeah, so they're doing like the Washington Commanders. Like we're gonna be like the Utah hockey team for a year until we decide, I guess. But I mean, it wouldn't make sense if they're the Utah Coyotes. I mean, that would be really
yeah.
Weird. So, for now, we get to enjoy Desert Runner. I mean, now that the Coyotes aren't in existence, maybe this makes it through easier. I don't know, but I mean, the Scorpions got approved, so
yeah,
it shouldn't be an issue.
I don't think it should be an issue at all. I think this is going to be just fine.
Yeah, this one's cool. The Road Runner or the Desert Runner after the Road Runner animal bird. Yeah, good job, Brad. Let's see. Moving forward, we got the painted bat. Seamus is back with the painted bat. What are your thoughts on this?
When I first saw this, I thought this is amazing. I think it has a great colorway. I'm biased to it just because I'm an Orioles fan, and this is a perfect colorway fit to rock at an O's game. But this is got potential with glow, and I think you could use glow thread for the bats. I don't know if the original concept has a glow element to that threading, or if this is just the regular version. But I like the use of drips here. You know, the wings almost kind of look like a butterfly a little bit, which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
I think it would be cool to see the wings a little bit spread out wider, because I don't necessarily get as much bat with the wings. I get more bat from the actual body and the face. But, you know, Seamus is really good with his artwork, and I like his style. I think this would sell well. What are your thoughts?
I think it's cool because, number one, like he's just taking a literal name. So it's not even almost. I mean, the painted bat, he's just turning it into a pun. So like that's like an easy layup for him, and he has this kind of like painterly style where everything looks like a painting and the layer thing and all that stuff. But this is an actual bat. So it's cool that, you know, for me, like educational purposes is cool. You're educating people on, you know, animals that didn't exist or specific animals. So I think that's real cool. So he posted that the painted bat. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the Latin name, but initially thought to be extinct back in 1888, popped up again randomly in Thailand in 2015. So that's really cool. So
I will say, as more I look at this, I mean, I absolutely love it, but it needs a little bit of work on the lines. If you notice, the art is a little sloppy. Some of the white connecting parts in the middle and like at the very top, they kind of spill, and the crease in the middle of the wings has got like that little bit of the black that's kind of piercing through.
Yeah.
But I do like that it has that connection and that story, and this is actually a real species. That I really appreciate.
Yeah. And then kind of like the way the wings kind of fold on the far wing kind of reminds me of like a pumpkin. It's got like this Halloween theme, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wonder though, like if you kind of take it to the next level to hide something within the paintings.
Oh yeah.
There's kind
You
of
could
either make it
sneak in
spell,
like a cool little shape or something.
yeah,
That would
like
be
either
neat.
make it spell bad or hide a spider web to make it just a little bit more Halloween.
Or
I don't know.
or a paintbrush
Yeah.
because the painted bat. I don't know.
Or if you just roll with that like jack-o'-lantern thing, just kind of spread the wings out and just make
Yeah,
it
I think that would be my own my real feedback. Maybe the lines are a little bit sloppy on purpose to kind of add to that painterly aspect. So I could be missing on that note. But if you spread the wings more, then you're going to cover the canvas better, and I think it's going to fit well on the hat itself.
yeah, and you could hide messages in there, or add to that kind of Halloween theme.
I'd like to see what this looks like coming straight at you.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
almost flying into your face. Yeah, exactly.
I think. But Seamus, Rockstar,
A really good job.
artist. Thursday, I have a drop with him coming. Cap off.
Okay. Cool.
Keep your eyes out for that one. So shout out to Seamus always. Behold Death, Hype K Tide. Another artist I'm not too familiar with, so I'm gonna get your initial reaction on it while I kind of look them up and kind of research them.
So this is to me very inventive and unique. I love the use of the eyeball character with the weird like alien mouth holding an eye that maybe was popped out of his own eye or who knows what, or stolen so that he could have an eye. I don't know if the little Reaper thing is necessary in the hood, but I guess Reapers sell well in the Clink Room.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of hats that are along this type of theme in the Clink Room already. And, I guess it's because they're marketable, but for me, these are not necessarily my style. The only time I would really ever get a Reaper hat is if he was on like a surfboard or doing something funny or that he wouldn't normally do. What are your thoughts on this?
So it's like wacky and cool and stuff. I kind of don't really understand it. So he's like a skull that's an eye that's missing an eye.
I mean, I don't know what the concept is, but did you read it?
I could, yeah. Let me look it up. I was just kind of looking at their profiles. So they have a lot of different collabs. So we've seen the Bullseye with Heather, the that match kind of flame and creepy crawler. So they kind of it just says Behold Death.
Yeah.
The double, it's got a double sickle too on that scythe.
Yeah.
I
thought it was a rat tail that was like hanging down. I wasn't sure what that was.
Yeah. So this one, there's like an A hidden almost underneath. I don't think it was meant to be that, but it's interesting. So they took, it looks like the older version because he has a newer version on his Instagram where this black spot here has 2 dots.
Oh.
So, and then it looks slightly different, but either way,
I like the shadow work on the eye to make it pop the main eyeball head. There's a little bit of like a shadow line that I think would add to that effect. I like the use of the color on the under to tie into the logo. There's a lot of strong points here. It is drawn well. I like the shading effects.
Yeah.
But I don't connect with it as like a logo or what it is specifically.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing too is like when you're doing hands, man, just make sure you got the same number of fingers on both.
Yeah.
You got 3 on one and 4 on the other.
Yeah.
Those are small little details you can't miss.
Yeah.
People who look to call out. Now, this one doesn't have any of like the what I would kind of classify as the general things of AI. But one
Yeah.
of the things that people look at when you're kind of looking for potentially people who are using AI is like the AI cannot handle hands.
Right.
That's one of the things that you cannot mess up now. And yeah, and this one does not strike me as an AI generated image at all.
No,
I'm
not
just
at all.
saying, like for artists, like,
Yeah, but you got to be paying attention to details like that. I agree.
yeah, get your hands right. All right, moving forward. Haunted Path, Heather's Back. These like kind of like scenescapes and different kind of landscape type images seem to have been doing pretty well in terms of like crits to production. So what do you think of this one?
So like this is one of those ones where conceptually, I absolutely love it. I think the artwork is done beautifully. My only grievance with this one is that, you got to let the embroidery do the work, and the embroidery is going to hurt this design because there's too many fine details in this hat for a hat logo.
Yeah,
You have to simplify it. You only need one of those steeples, one window, one door on your castle, one bat, one moon, one mountain, and one pine tree. That's all you need. You don't need so much detail in one compact space.
yeah,
I think it's beautiful. If this was a print at a art show, I'd buy it. I'd put it on the wall. I love this theme. I love Halloween. I love the whole, aspect of like a haunted asylum or haunted mansion. The bats, and it works. It's beautiful, but it's not designed for a proper transfer to a logo on a hat.
yeah. I think I'm with you. I wonder how this would even embroider. Like if you would want to pull something like this off, you almost would have to just like make it a woven design rather than an embroidered design. There's so many
Yeah.
little things to it. As an art piece, it's a rad piece of art. You ever see those videos of those kind of things that are drawn on an iPad where they just keep zooming in and there's like
Yeah.
different stuff? Like
Yeah.
that's what this is like. This it reminds me of the start of. Like I feel like I can
Keep zooming.
zoom in
Right.
and go into that house or go into
Right.
that like the bat's eye, and then I'm gonna see it like it's something completely different.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then zoom
Like an
in.
outer space scene or something. Right.
Yeah, yeah. This just might be like something where it's it's like a major flex. Like it's a cool
It's a cool
piece. It
piece.
almost
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a Heather piece almost too. She's just releasing so much stuff out there that
Yeah.
I think she needs to kind of just
I'm not sure like what her specific style is.
that's
Every
what I
time
was gonna say.
I
Like she
think
needs to kind of
something's new every time.
find her style. Yeah, like just have it and kind of refine it so that when we see something like, yo, that's a Heather.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what she's going through now too is that, she's self-taught. And so
Mhm.
she's experimenting with different styles to see how, I think a lot of this for her is just cathartic work on her end, which is
Right.
brilliant,
Yeah.
because eventually she will find that niche of where she belongs and continue to thrive. I mean, she's already got, a handful of hats in the shop, so she's doing great.
Mhm. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I would never want to would dissuade her from, kind of working through that process. But yeah,
Yeah.
just more kind of works in progress, more
But yeah,
refinement, less less
yeah,
actual submitting, more art. Like that'd be kind of
yeah,
like it's rad to see. And
yeah.
she's
And this is beautiful. I just think this is a misunderstanding of your final product and how that's going to work or
yeah,
translate.
for sure. All right. Shadow Battles, Point X Co. So he was on the show a couple weeks ago and bringing back the Shadow Battle series. So what are your thoughts here?
Man, he's one of my favorites. I think if he'd have been around earlier on in the Clink Room days, he would have been one of their go-to artists. If you look at his page, he has a lot of concepts that utilize the shadow effect really well. And I think, for me, it's great use of your negative space. These designs are simple. They leave room for the Clink Room to do stuff with the embroidery in the background, which is really cool. But for me, I really like this. I think it's done really well. I love the unique colorway. It kind of gives the desert feel. But yeah, I wonder how well some of those details will embroider on the two silhouetted soldiers. That's my only fear with this one, is that there's a lot of small, finite stitching that will not read.
Yeah.
But for me, it's so unique and inventive, and it's got a cool. It almost has that San Diego Padres kind of feel. But yeah, I like it a lot. It's got a clean look to it. It's new and fresh.
Yeah. Oh, I think there's like this kind of I know he had like another one was like I think a knight battling a ninja or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a real cool kind of piece. So like this one, it's interesting. It's almost like it's like layers of construction paper.
Yeah.
Done. So I think that's like a real cool kind of thing. I just feel like the circle within the circle, like the moon. So there's like small circles within the moon, and then the moon is within the circle. I think there's just a lot of kind of competing elements. I think you could just get away with just like a sun, like a simple sun. You didn't need to have the sun in the circle when then it has other two circles going the other way. So I think there's just small stuff. And I think you might have a scaling issue. Like how tall is dude on the right if he's bigger than a horse,
Right. I didn't even notice that. That's a really good point.
Yeah. And his javelin's real short. I don't know. It's just small little stuff. I think if you just
it looks like he has an arrow in his hand.
Yeah, so like you either just kind of scale these two guys, but if you scale them down, like how are you gonna get the detail in there?
Take one of those characters out and then zoom it in and focus more on the finite details of that character. Like the guy on the horse with the javelin, if you bring him into focus, maybe that is what you do more detail with.
Yeah. I just don't think you need to be on a horse almost. That way you just eliminate that scaling issue.
Yeah.
Have the dude just ready to throw the javelin.
Like ready to his heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And dude with the double axe, like that's a really, really confident move. You go double jump, double axe handle smash, like man, you better hit that, man, because if you're not, you're gonna be in a really
tough situation
after. Art wise, though, taking all that stuff account, if you're just enjoying the art, it's a cool piece, man.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a cool piece. Yeah, good job, Point Exco. All right, Unforgiving. Gabe's back. Haven't seen him in a little while, so it's good to see him. Kind of back now. This one battles a tough thing here with the skulls. Like when you get a skull that small, like what do you do with the teeth? So he's just eliminated the teeth. So what are your thoughts on this one?
So I think the colorway and the overall, I would say it's clean for embroidery. This is an embroidery ready hat, and Gabe gets how to design art for that. My only issue with this for me is that as someone who's very passionate with art, this feels just like a forced concept. Like I don't understand if there's a story behind it. I don't, get if this has any sort of sentimental value in any way or anything to go with, because we have a lot of cool skull, floral, and cactus hats in the Clink Room that have more of a story behind them. And I think that this needs something to kind of push that, because to me, it doesn't have that unique imaginative aspect to it. It just seems like elements that sell well thrown together a little bit or a little bit forced. But it's pretty. It looks beautiful to look at, and the art is done very cleanly.
Yeah, I'm with you though. So we saw the last one have a little bit of a scaling issue. This one has a scaling issue too. Is like, I mean, it's a cactus through a skull. Like cactuses aren't really even known for growing kind of like that. You know, like I mean, they're kind of known for surviving in like a weird and hot environment, but like for it to be laid up with a skull, like
Yeah.
you almost wish the skull was either in front of it or just on the cactus somewhere.
Well, and there's like the leaves coming around from the skull too, you know?
Yeah, and then the leaves almost look like corn husks with the random flowers. Like the
Yeah.
cactus flowers don't even rest on a cactus like that. And for me, like I know some people like the symmetrical designs. I almost feel
Yeah.
like I want more randomness to it. I want more grittiness to it. If you're
I'm
gonna
a
go,
big, I like the asymmetry as well. I don't like it when it's predictable. It's more
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. So that would be my notes on it, and then find a way to work either the teeth in or just have a shadow kind of cover them, like just to be like a toothless skull. Always um kind of weird for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's a cool concept. I just think it needs a little bit of refinement and like skull growing like a cactus growing out of a skull. Like is that even a thing? I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's just trying to put some elements together that are cool and hoping it sticks.
Yeah, but good to see him back regardless.
Of course.
Pothead, Sierra Gons, lobster, crawfish type thing. What do you think?
Man, this is great. I'm from, Frederick, Maryland, and Maryland has the Chesapeake Bay, and we're famous for Maryland crabs,
Mm-hmm.
and we're also known for crayfish, crawfish, whatever you want to call them. And this is obviously more of a lobster theme, but I love the play on the words with the pothead. It fits the theme for lobsters, and also has that little bit of that undertone of smoking, which is kind of funny. I think the colorway is fun. It's light. This is an example of really good, clean artwork. You can see how nice bold lines will embroider really well. I think this is done beautifully, and I thought it was really unique. I wonder if we could play around with maybe getting eyes in there somehow, because I
Yeah.
think when you have a logo, people connect with an eye because this is how we connect when we speak or when we look at things. But altogether, this is one of my favorites so far that I've seen.
So my thing with it, again, we're dealing with a symmetric. I just wish this was not a symmetrical.
Yeah,
design.
I understand that this could have some fun little elements if it was like the pot was kind of tipped and it was trying to like get out, or
that's exactly where I
and
was
like
gonna go with
dazed
it.
almost, like a
Yeah,
pothead would be.
yeah. So first thing, the nerd in me is like, all right, if this is a lobster, one crusher claw, one pincer claw.
Yeah,
Have the pincer claw lift the pot slightly so you get a little bit of his eyes, but then have
yeah.
the smoke billowing out the pot, not
Oh
around the
yeah, like
pincer.
a hot box almost.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
he
a
kind of
great
hot
idea.
potted himself, right?
And it would be boiling. The steam would be coming out of the pot.
Exactly. So have that flow out, pincer claw, since it's the longer claw, um, straight up, so it kind of just hits the pot, kind of like that, and maybe you see one of the eyes being red, and he's
Yeah,
kind of high or whatever,
I
but
like
have the
that.
smoke out of the circle part of the pot, so it's kind of coming out. Not that he's just sitting on a cloud of smoke.
Right.
And just small stuff, and then just tip the perspective. So make the like the back part, and then the tail kind of fade into
Yeah.
the back of the hat. That way you get more of the face,
Face. Yep. Yeah,
and
you
just
could play
small
with the
stuff.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, because like how the hell are his things coming out of the pot? Like it's just there's a hole in the pot, like
Yeah.
like so just
Well,
small stuff.
yeah, I think you're right. It has a lot of potential,
Hell
but
yeah,
needs some work. But yeah,
yeah, just small stuff. But I mean, again, Sierra, man,
yeah,
great
always fun.
artist. Um, as it's so like this is like cool. I mean, it kind of falls into like that kind of God series that he had. whatever, like that kind of
Yeah.
same pose. But
Hmm.
if you got something like this, I just feel like I just would want it more random and kind of
Right.
more more to it, I guess. But he's right there. Pothead. This was the one that kind of occupied two spaces. So Ray Katz, Gemini, and Milos got together for this one. What's your initial reaction to this?
So my initial reaction is it's very clean. I really like the artwork and how it has a nice depth to it with the claw in the foreground, the cat behind it. I don't necessarily know the story or background on what Ray Katz is. I hope I'm not making myself sound stupid because it probably is something popular that I don't know about.
Yeah.
But as far as its uniqueness, it's very inventive and different. It reminds me of like a toxic cat or, toxic traits, or that I think that was a hat that came out, but very similar vibe where, almost like a witch cat, or like a cat that a warlock has that works in casting spells. Have you read the background on this one at all?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is an actual thing or if he's just writing fiction in his head.
Okay.
But the way he describes it as um is a genetically like modified cat that would detect nuclear radiation or something. So I don't know if this is an actual thing or if he's just kind of
Yeah.
off the cuff and explaining
And
or
that's
introducing this
that and
character.
that's hard for me because, there's things that I connect with that I would want to put on a hat. And I don't know if this particularly is something that, would sell really well for everyone. Um, but if you connect with it, then it's a surefire, what I would call Instacop. But
Mhm.
as far as cleanliness of the artwork, I love the glow aspect of it. That it has that element and it ties in with that nuclear, concept. I just fear that this would be one of those hats that would just, not not be as marketable for a mainstream, buyer, which is it's realistic. Some businesses evolve, and the Clink Room used to be something completely different, and it's changed, and it's now something that's not going to stay the same in the next 5 years either. So you have to be ready for change because that's kind of what happens with businesses. And I think right now, very unique, imaginative stuff also needs to be relatable, or it's not going to stick with a lot of people.
Yeah. So this looks like it was something that was proposed in the 80s as a
Okay.
way to kind of encounter like what we do with this all this like radioactive waste, but I don't think they
Oh,
actually like did it. So
so I guess it did take on like a superhero type cat, trying
yeah,
to help with that. Okay.
yeah.
I,
So
I
like
like that.
so
It
I
would
don't
be
know,
a
we'll
super
see.
unique hat. It would be really cool if it was embroidered.
Yeah. And then like the glow is cool. So yeah, I'm just thinking of like what he could do to kind of take it to the next level. Like it would be cool if it was like some sort of like message that would kind of happen when it glowed.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
maybe make it a danger sign or somehow turn it into like a biohazard sign or
I was
something.
even thinking like those toxic gases that are like swirling around or something too.
Yeah, like figure out a way to make it kind of give it that +1
Yeah.
or +2 almost because he's got the glow and it's real rad. But like
No, like the orb.
yeah, like make it like some type of message that we don't see, like
Right.
danger or something, run or something. But yeah, it's a cool thing. Yeah, like it's like even like reading about his description. I'm like, is this real? Like, like is
Yeah.
this a thing? I've never even heard of it. But yeah, it's cool. He's
Yeah.
bringing awareness.
Yeah.
So, good job, Gemini and Milos. Ray Katz. Number 4, Featherlight. Clinker Win and Sassy. What do you think here?
I mean, I think this is pretty cool. As far as visually, again, I think there's a little bit too fine a detail for it to translate to embroidery.
Yeah.
And conceptually, I'm not sure how much, what's the story here with the feather tying in with the landscape in the background. I would, if this made the shop, I would probably buy it because it fits along with a lot of the hats that I like. I paint a lot of landscapes in my free time, so
Cool.
this is up my alley with that. I love sunsets too. But as far as like what's the story and meaning behind it, I'm not familiar with sassy Italian Brit. I know Win always does really clean artwork, but for this one, for me, I I remember when the first landscape concepts were introduced, it was like the larks, where you had a bird and the landscape was inside of the bird and represented like the land or the area that bird lived, and it had a connection. And so I think here, if you're going to incorporate a feather with a landscape or the landscape with a feather, there needs to be a reason for that. It seems a little bit too just haphazard just to look nice or pretty. What are your thoughts?
So my initial thoughts is like Win is like such a powerful artist. Like
Yeah.
always submitting, always has stuff in the works. I just feel like it's almost like soulless. Like there's no
Like, what's the subject matter?
there's no connection to it. It doesn't
Right.
talk to. I mean that might be part of his strategy where like try to reach as broad of a audience as possible. Maybe that helps in the votes. I don't know what the thing is because
Well, I
it
said
does vote
subject
well.
matter or just a second ago. I meant focal point. So what's your focal point here? I mean, what part of
Yeah,
the piece are you supposed to be drawn to when you look at this visually? You
yeah,
should
it's like
always have one
seven
main thing.
things.
And
It's like
it's like, yeah,
seven things in one. You don't know where to go.
right,
So
exactly.
this remind and the problem with his stuff too. So like okay, as an artist, great artist, right? So for
Yeah.
me, the beef with it is like, all right, so what are we looking at? What's the connection to me? Why is this exist? Like, I feel like it's just like elements of other stuff that worked and try to pack it into something and
Yeah.
hoping that this works.
Yeah.
Now, it might make it to the shop. It might sell well, but I just
Yeah.
don't have any connection to it. So it reminds me of like the feather that Marlon did. It reminds me of the match feather that Donnie did a couple weeks ago. So I just feel like
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're just drawing on things that like other people do well or things that work, and you're kind of just shoving it into like I think Point X had a bunch of like landscapes that worked well like within shapes. So it's like now you're doing the shapy landscape things.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a lot.
Well, I think too that there's a hard line where if you try to build, a portfolio of submissions for marketability purposes only, you start to flood your market and then you're competing against yourself again. Are people going to buy 2 or 3 landscape hats in the shop at a time? Probably not,
Yeah.
and so to have so many submissions then be so similar, especially then you definitely need a story and you definitely need a connection.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you completely. There needs to be a little bit more of a connection to it for it to be something that I'm gonna want to buy. And like you said, it might sell well to somebody who just was going strictly on appearance because it's beautifully done.
Hmm.
The colors work great, but
Yeah.
but yeah,
I just need more, a little bit more from him. That's all.
yeah,
And I say that, and maybe it sounds harsh or whatever, but like
no,
I I I see him put through a lot of stuff, and the art's good usually. I just feel like there's no punch to it. There's no gotta have it factor. It's always just general stuff. Like it's never I don't know, you see like a Phil thing or you see a 40 thing and there's just so much character to it.
Yes. You
Like,
get personality from the artist. You're not really
yeah.
sure who Win is from a
I
lot
have
of this
no
stuff.
idea, no clue.
Right.
No clue what he likes, what he's into. I just feel like everything that he does is just stuff that
it might
is
sell
just
well.
popular. Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever. There's nothing really
Maybe that's
wrong with that.
that's his focus.
Yeah. Maybe there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I don't know nothing about him. Like, yeah. That's all. Spooky season, half IL. So got this crow on some pumpkins. Oh, that's my normal wake up alarm, sorry. What are you thinking here?
This is great. I think, you know, Raphael has really captivated the realistic nature thing. He does fish, he does sea stuff, he does a lot of birds.
Yeah.
And this is one of the newer iterations of the birds that I like a lot. You know, if it plays right, you know, and this gets through legal as a blackbird or a crow, this is a great O's hat again for me. So I'm definitely connected to this as for a colorway standpoint. And I like that Raphael has taken it to that next level, whereas before it was just birds and in their environment, and now he's added like a +1, so to speak, in the, you know, with the bats. I think you only really need one bat in the background, but and you probably only really need the one pumpkin too, and you could make the tree next to the bird bigger and eliminate those other 2 pumpkins and just have them sitting on the one pumpkin, you know. But I love this one personally. I think it has nice depth. It's very simplistic as far as your colors and shapes for value contrast. So you're going to get really good at work with the embroidery here to add to that. What do you think?
So with Raphael, he's got like this kind of style nailed down, like the realistic animal within the shape. Like,
Yeah.
Like we've seen him do it. It's awesome. He's good at it. It's realistic. Whatever. And I'm with you. It's cool that he's got like he's adding elements now. So like now it's like a seasonal thing, and that now we're getting a little bit more kind of storytelling with that.
Right.
And I think it to a certain extent maybe like language is a thing where sometimes he doesn't feel totally comfortable telling a story, or maybe it doesn't resonate with the audience. But I feel this one is good. I just so there's 2 ways that I would advise him to move with this. Either just make the crow bigger and kind of break the circle. Just fucking just
Yeah.
stop holding yourself to these like circles.
Well,
like shrink the circle or make the bird bigger, whatever the way you want to do it. But just kind of work your like use the circle to kind of tie in the art, not hold the art in. If that makes any sense.
Right? I agree. I think, you know, sometimes you could utilize using the crown as your colorway to emulate that sky background, and then you can break that circle and have those couple few elements stand alone without that shape. I agree. I think it works with some, but I think it doesn't need to be used all the time.
Yeah. And his art is so good that I almost feel like the other stuff was like the pumpkins in this case, the circle, and then the landscape almost takes away from the beauty of the bird.
Yeah.
Like sometimes if you just want to do these animals, man, just do punch the animal in. That's it. Like, I think because like look, I'll use this as an example. Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah. It's just the bird.
Super realistic bird. It's just a bird.
Right.
How beautiful is this hat?
Yeah. Agreed.
So just do it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like just let the art stand on it and you don't need the 10-pound bag of shit. I'm not calling this shit. I'm just saying, like, you don't need to cram
so much
everything
into
into
one.
it.
Yeah.
Like, let it
Less
be.
is more. Yeah.
If this was just a crow hat or a raven hat or whatever the
Yeah.
bird is, I'd be down.
Yeah.
Like, I just saw randomly too on my Instagram this morning. They're remaking the Crow movie. I'm like, oh, how random is that? But anyway, just let the bird fucking be the star of the show.
Yeah.
It doesn't need all this other stuff.
Right.
So that would be my advice to him. Like, so some of his designs, I just wish, like, just cut the shit. Just have the
get to
the
focus
animal
on
be the star of the show, right? And so,
like I said, you don't need 3 pumpkins. If you're going to use a pumpkin, just use one. If anything,
one bat,
right? Yeah.
But it doesn't even need that. Like,
no, it doesn't. You're right.
This thing as just the crow, I'd buy it.
Right.
Just be confident in that. Just fuck it. Here's a fucking crow, like it or not. Like, yeah. But credit for him for trying to tell a story, and credit for him for trying to be thematic and all that stuff. Because I've criticized him in the past for not doing that enough, and then like he does it, and then like here I am, just like
yeah.
But for this one, I have the crow show up, man. But all right, cool. Moving forward, we got Glacier Cyclops. Hype K tags back. What are your initial thoughts on this?
It's clean. I love it. It's got a good, fun vibe to it. I think this is kid friendly, which is cool. And we want to get the future of the hat wearers involved as well. Reminds me of something out of like Monsters or something like that.
Yeah,
I think it's cool. I like the colorway. The artwork's done well. It's got a good perspective on it, and it feels like a real sports logo.
Yeah, it's fun. This could be like the Utah hockey team's logo.
Yeah, yeah, no, really.
Yeah, solid. I mean, it's his style. It's cool. It's different. I mean, I don't know why it's a Cyclops that's a Yeti, but cool enough.
I like it. It's inventive. Yeah. It's different. It's unique. And this is simple, they're not trying too hard. You get what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with it. I don't know if I love the brown and the blue, but that's small stuff, Probably would have just went white on the hat.
Right. Oh yeah, on the crown, yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, no other notes.
Yeah, this is good. It's clean.
This is less of
more.
Yeah, this looks like a Clink hat. Just
right, exactly.
Just weird, wacky. Yeah. Hey, what's your hat? It's a fucking Glacier Cyclops. Like,
yeah.
What do you want, man? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Let it be. Cool. Visitor, Win and Sassy together again.
I have 2 submissions this week. All right. So this one's very pretty to look at. I love the colors. This is one of my favorite colorways that we see. I think one of the first ones I saw this on was Resurrection Kong. But I like hummingbirds.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get into the story part of it. It's drawn well, but I'm not sure of the background of this. I'm not sure of what the meaning is. And that's, what we already talked about with Win. So
yeah,
not much more to say other than that it's visually appealing and absolutely beautiful artwork.
It looks cool. I just don't know what I'm looking at, man. like hummingbird that
has a stomach skull.
A stomach skull.
The sunset behind it.
Sunset. Miami colorway.
Miami Vice or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. The wings look crazy. It's like eagle wings. I don't know what I'm looking at here.
Yeah. Is it a headdress on the skull?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Are hummingbirds even mean? Like, that's the thing too.
Yeah.
They drink like honey water or like nectar water and stuff. Art wise, he's good. He's a good artist, man. Nails it. Conceptually, I have no clue.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, but be careful of the Terminator hummingbirds coming for you. All right. Magic Man. Hype K, man. Hype K on a roll here.
You're all right. This is cool. I think this is fun. It's got a neat little vibe to it. I would probably change up and play around with the colorway a little bit personally, but I think it's drawn well. I think you could deal with a little bit more of a thicker line in some areas to help with the embroidery, but I like the little star +1s. You know, this is an aspect of, I'm not sure. It looks like the one hand might have an extra finger, but that could just be a little bit of a defect of the drawing itself, or maybe where the cape, see on the lower hand where the cape goes down. I think it's supposed to be the hat in the background, but you either need to just color that in blue or make the line of the cape a little bit more prominent so it doesn't look like an extra finger.
Yeah.
But it's drawn well. It's fun. I think it's unique.
He definitely has that one little extra finger.
Yeah, something like that. So the hands almost look the exact same, like they just flip-flopped them.
Flipped them. Yeah.
You know, this almost has your symmetry thing a little bit.
I like randomness to it. Have one hand doing one thing, or with a one pose or something,
or like casting a spell with the stars coming out of it or something.
Exactly. I would cut all the stars except for 2. Just keep it 2 above his head on the 2 bigger ones on the one side. Have the cape flow to one side, so it's not like, why is it?
Yeah. It looks like a scarf and a cape.
Yeah.
And it's covering his mouth, which is odd.
Yeah. So,
well, wasn't there just a magic mushroom that we just had? Casting the spells.
I think it was Gabe and Donnie's one. I believe so. It was like in a Fresh Colorway. Yeah, Wizard's Work. Jake.
Wizard's Work. That one reminds me of this a little bit.
Yeah, but that one even had like cool elements where he was like doing like the thing, and he had staff.
But yeah, getting the hands doing different stuff. We want to create motion. He's just very stagnant, standing there.
Yeah. It's a cool like piece. It's like reminds me of Mario, a little bit of Pokemon.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Peanut Man too.
Yeah, he's right there. It's just like little things. Yeah, so I'm with you. Pull the cape rope down.
Yeah.
Have it below his chin. Flow it to one side. Have an arm do something.
Give him a shirt.
Some of the stars, and you're right there. Yeah. Right now he's just mushroom man standing here looking at us.
Yeah.
Like, what magic is he? His existence is just magic, I guess. But yeah, cool piece. Hype K, man. This is like their week. Shadows and Spirit. Okay. What are your initial thoughts?
I mean, I see the vibe with the Reaper and the Ghost and the dark Halloween style of theme.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you got like the Reaper who just killed you, and then you go and try to haunt the Reaper after you've been taken as a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. This again is not really my forte as far as the theme of hats. I'm not usually getting a skull or skeleton unless it's surf themed or done conceptually really well to play with the skull or skeleton.
Yeah.
And I don't really do much Reaper stuff. I don't even think I have many. I think I have Camp Stories as the only ghost hat I have. So I don't know if this is something that I would get, but I could see where people might like this. Again, we're not really sure what the story is because it's just what sells. Let's put it on a hat.
Yeah. I like Reapers. I think it's a cool concept. Again, it just feels like you're just taking elements of like what does well and then just kind of putting it here. To me, he's got the basic shape of like a yin yang, but he's like not doing anything to kind of enhance it in any way. There's no balance to it. Like the Reaper and the Ghost, like that's not really two things
that go together.
That either go together or even balance each other. Like
like they're both dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like you got this yin yang thing, but like there's no like you're going against the whole notion of balance, white and black. You know, it's just Ghost and Reaper. Like I don't know. It's just Yeah, it looks well. I mean, the Dragon Equinox that Milos did, it was 2 elements, and even those 2 elements didn't. I feel like kind of didn't have like a yin yang to it, but it looked visually appealing, so it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
But then to just do like what he did and try to do it in another way, it's just like that's cheesy to me. So
yeah, like just there's no originality.
Yeah. So Shadows of Spirit, Win Studios. This is an obvious kind of like theme coming up. Like there's a bunch of Halloween stuff this week, so unfortunately, it won't really deliver for Halloween, but it's kind of getting people to think about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Martian Tigers. Okay, cool. What are your thoughts there?
This is done really well. I like this a lot. You know, I like the cool little like serpent tongue coming out of the mouth. I like the 4 eyes and the weird like tentacle ears. Or like, you know, this is definitely got that Clink Room feel for being very unique. I don't know how marketable it would be, but a shout out for being imaginative and creating something new and unique that I haven't seen before. I really love the way the eyes are done with the little bit like white reflective spot. There's not really like the same pupil, but it also looks like it could be a tiger. I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's like this crazy alien tiger thing. So this was an old submission from Park. And are you in the Discord?
No.
Okay, you guys are in the Discord. So basically, he threw this in the Views from the Vault Discord. So there's a specific channel for the Clink Room.
Okay.
So he threw it up, and he was asking for recolors, and I randomly came across it. So I gave him 2. So I did like a purple and blue and silver colorway, and then I gave him this one, which is the Detroit Tigers colorway.
Yeah, it's great.
And he ended up going with this one, and it made it to crits. So that's cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I respect that a lot because my background is definitely more color theory focused with my art, and I think I really like hats when they either just come across really cleanly in a certain colorway or have a colorway that ties into the hat itself and is not just kind of thrown together for marketability purposes.
Yeah. So my thinking behind this was make it look like a Tigers kind of on-field hat they would have wore in '94.
Like the steroid era, Tigers on steroids.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a great. I think it's awesome. I hope this makes the shop.
Yeah, his original color was real funky. It was like purple and neon green.
Yeah, that's too. Yeah. Almost like what you're wearing.
Yeah, essentially. And then I don't know if he did submit it to crits or not or whatever, but he was just gonna try to resubmit it, and it made it. So
I like it.
That's cool. So yeah, for personal reasons, I hope this one makes it through.
Yeah.
So that's it, man. We did it.
Sweet.
2 hours. There's gonna be people that are pissed it's so long, but you know what? Too bad.
Hey,
this was a blast, man. This flew by.
It did. Thanks a lot for having me, man.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm kind of thinking about it. I don't know if it's gonna come across as a little bit whiny and bitchy, but you know, it's just unfiltered and kind of my genuine reaction to this stuff. And you know, nothing I said was meant to attack anything or anybody personally. It's just kind of how I felt. So
yeah, I'll touch on that too. You know, dealing with someone who's come from a collaborative art background, being able to be open with people in the art community is really important, because if you don't know what's wrong, you can't learn. And remember, a failed submission or something that doesn't get through the shop is just a learning curve for you to be able to tweak your style or your drive or your motivation or how you go your approach to things, and rework it and change and develop and become better.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like we've all seen ones that we didn't think was going to do anything, and then you see the report come on and it's like top seller. So
yeah,
not everything we say is going to be the gospel, and it's just kind of how I look at it. And
it's our opinion, so take it with a grain of salt.
Exactly. Where can people kind of connect with you and your art?
So obviously through my Instagram page is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me, which is just my name at Todd Mazzie. And then obviously if you're in the Frederick, Maryland area, I work in downtown Frederick and involved in I work at a distillery and do a lot of their merchandising there.
Cool.
But yeah, man, this is just a hobby for me that I enjoy. I'm always going to be an advocate of creating art and being imaginative, and I think people should just take some time to explore what they're passionate about, and if it's Clink and creating logos, then take that risk, and go for it. Submit or reach out to an artist and get a collaboration going.
Yeah, you've had some killer artists work with you on your roster and your portfolio, so that kind of goes to show, the power that you have, and can't
Thank
wait
you.
to see what you have next. And yeah, these 2 hours flew by, man. It was fun.
Yeah, man. Good times as always.
Yeah, definitely. I've got to get you back on the show soon. So
Sounds
for
good.
Todd and Leon, we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace.
Brought to you by VFTV.